Grand Tours have started, and we got a treat today. We're going to talk about the Giro week 1, the rest day, the start of week 2. Tro Bro Leon gave us a little tight finish. I'm going to talk a little bit about posting up early once again. Cycling comes to NorCal, and Tom Dumoulin takes another deuce. It's Wednesday. Between Two Wheels podcast, episode 237. This is your host, Tyler Janke, and welcome, everybody. Hope you've been enjoying somewhat of the summertime, whatever you got going. We did a little trip to the coast this last week, did some riding. We did Coleman Valley. It's a climb that goes out from Bodega Bay in towards Occidental. It was pretty interesting. I think they did the Tour of California up that and around there a few years ago. Pretty nice riding, about 20 degrees cooler there than it was out here in the Sacramento area. Either way, it's good to be back on the bike. Tried to shed some weight. That's not happening. Fitness is climbing back up there, but the so is the weight. So got to keep mindful of that. It's tough sometimes. I mean, I love to eat. I turned 50 last week or so, and I'm feeling it. Only no, I'm doing fine. Life's pretty good here on my side. So, what did I mean by Tom Dumoulin taking a deuce? Well, Tom Dumoulin has decided to come back to the world of cycling. So, once again, it's his second chance. Tom Dumoulin returned to racing at the Tour de Suisse Jumbo Rider to come back from his indefinite break. Started in January and the eighth stage race beginning in June. So he's going to do the Tour Swiss. He returned to the Tour Swiss in June after taking a 4-month break to reassess his career desire for life as a professional rider. And you know what? I'm really glad to see this. We saw this with a few other riders that have decided to bow out and they just kind of stay out. And there's rumors coming back. I mean, he's so young as far as, a life of a cyclist. Super talented, obviously a world champ in the time trial, won the Giro, done well, top 10, I think, last year for Jumbo. So he's obviously a rider of immense talent. Just maybe a little things with COVID got him, I don't know, his mind twisted up there. He's had some injuries. So he has made the decision together with the team as he recently found the joy in cycling again. Read a short statement from the team. Tour de Suisse begins in Freudenfeld on Sunday, June 6th, and appears to be the first step in the road leading to Tokyo. There you go. So Tom Dumoulin is expected to ride the time trial and the road race at the Dutch National Championships on June 16th and 20th, respectively, in order to gain selection for the Olympic Games in Tokyo later in the summer. Quote, in Switzerland, Dumoulin wants to regain the racing feeling. After the Swiss stage race, the former world time trial champion will also appear at the start of the Dutch time trial and road champion. Yeah, we saw that. Yeah, it keeps going over repeating the same info here. Basically, he wants to come into racing back again. I think his whole goal there is the Olympics. Why not? You got a time trial. It's not, you got to train for that specifically, but maybe he was just kind of fed up with a lot of the Tour de France stuff. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be on the Tour de France team still. I think Jonas van Vingegaard has been doing well, so he's going to be doing that with Primoz Roglic. I don't know what the Sepkus situation is as far as the team goes for the Tour de France. I imagine he's going to be there to help and then get some time in the Vuelta. He's had a little bit of a time off right now, so I think he's doing some altitude camps. Either way, it's good to see Dumoulin back up in the mix and getting his ambition going. And I like that a lot, even if it's just simply to kind of get him prepped for the time trial in Tokyo, the individual time trial there. So, and I don't know what the Olympic time trial looks like. I haven't looked at the profile. I think the road race is going to be pretty good. We should be getting selection teams coming up fairly shortly. I think the women sometime in June as well, the men. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that. They had a criteria going, and then they had an extra year off. So I think that criteria maybe either gets extended. I don't know. I mean, I would hope that you would be able to take into account the riding that has been done in the last, several weeks or so, or last year at least, because some of these riders have really, things have changed. We saw the rise of Sepkus. Some of the women, the Timco women have done really well in the World Tour. So it'll be interesting to see situation with that. Okay, let's talk about Tro Bro Leon. I want to talk about that just really quick, only because the finish, Connor Swift gets a finish over Piet Allegart, Baptiste Plankert. I wonder if he's Eddie Plankert's son. Oliver Legac, Ramos Tillier, John Degenkolb, and then some other ones thrown in. So Tro Bro Leon, if you haven't ever heard of it, it's a race that's kind of a mix between got a lot of gravel and off road. It's kind of a Paris-Roubaix meets Strade Bianca in France there, and this one didn't disappoint. It was a little wet, I think, and kind of nasty. Connor Swift gets off there. He looks like he's coming in for the finish, and he posts up early, and it's a bike throw by the other guy. You know, if Connor Swift isn't posting up early and he's throwing his bike himself, it's not even really a question. He ends up getting it in the end. But dude, why? I want to emphasize once again. I was looking at this specifically. You're seeing Caleb Ewan. Now, sprinters kind of know the feeling of people coming around, and they've got this, how the acceleration is going. Caleb Ewan, which we'll talk about, wins two stages here at the Giro. I believe the second one he won that going away, but I think even on both of those, he doesn't take his hands off the bars to post up till after the line. It's super easy. They're gonna get that whether you like it or not. As far as right across the line, they'll still get your pictures. So it was pretty impressive to see. Caleb comes across, posts up, does whatever his antics want to be. Those camera shots will still get you after the fact, and you've got it. You don't have to post up 5 feet before and risk losing out. Connor Swift gets it. Good for him. Arkea Samsic rider. That's really all I wanted to say about that. You can check that race out. But it does lead us into what we have that went down to today in the Giro. Now, I haven't done any prep or not prep. I've done a little bit of prep. I've been watching the Giro and I haven't done any shows on this. Took a little bit of time off. Once again, it was my birthday. I wanted to, but no, that's not the reason. I'm busy. Well, and then the birthday thing, we took some time off, doing stuff with family. It's not that I got to stop talking about the birthday because I don't really care about that. The family seemed to care. And so we had things going. We had son got flown in. Anyway, just all kinds of fun activities that were taking place. So I haven't had the time to put on a show for you all. Sorry about that. But I've been enjoying the Giro. Now, it would be great if I could do a daily stage recap all Chris Horner. And if you really want to break down, I'll float other shows out there. Chris Horner does, to me, one of the best breakdown shows of the butterfly effect on his YouTube channel. He's getting 20,000 subscribers now. He's really moving up, but he does daily recap and he does a really solid breakdown of the race. And to his credit, he knows his insides and out. I've always said that he's really good with his strategy. So he even wrote a book once, or someone wrote it with him. It'd be interesting to talk to him. I know there's some his former teammates out there. Maybe get me in connection with Chris Horner. I'd like to do a conversation with him. Either way, let's go to the Giro. It's been pretty interesting. Look, as we know, 21 stages. Last year was only 18. It was moved off in the year. It was a little bit different. Teo Gegenhardt obviously comes in with the wind, has a lot of help with Rowan Dennis. You have Jao Hindley. You have Jao Almeida. Jai Hindley, Jao Almeida. You had Wilco Kelderman. So Kelderman's not there this year. You don't have Tao Gegenhardt. You don't have you have Jai Hindley. You don't you have 18 stages. They're just a little bit different. You have Ineos. You don't have Rowan Dennis. You have Ineos come in there with a different feel, a different group, except for Ghana, who's still a absolute workhorse. So we'll go through here, kind of talk about some of these things. It starts off with a time trial in Turin. Filippo Ganna gets the win there. No surprise. He's kind of come in with the Oh, and another one that's out there is Groenewegen came in, and I'd like to talk about that. So you get first stage here. Filippo Ganna gets the win on the time trial. He's in the leader's jersey. Stage two, you end up having Tim Miller of Alpecin Phoenix getting the win. What's interesting about that one, sprint stage, no trouble looking at the profile, and you see, yeah, it's pretty much going to be a sprint stage. But he gets it over Giacomo Nizzolo, Ilya Viviani, Dylan Groenewegen, Peter Sagan, and the rest. Caleb Ewing down there in 10th place. Look, Caleb Ewing doesn't have necessarily a great lead out. I guess he yelled at his boys that day. You had, where is I don't see him on here for the UAE team. Gaviria. he was down there a little bit. His lead out Milano actually took him into the barrier. Now, what to me is interesting, if you watch that stage 2 and you see every kind of all eyes are on Groenewegen. Is he going to do well? He ends up getting 4th. It's a decent sprint. I think his fitness is, it's pretty good coming into this. At least he said his legs were perfect. But I think you can't have the hesitations of being fearful of a sprint and being able to move yourself in gaps that you need and you watch this race. I mean, uh, Caleb Ewing kind of crashes into Peter Sagan, who then kicks into, that was a different stage, into Miller. And there was some issues. I think that was stage 3 as far as his chain goes. I think Miller ends up dropping it off there. But the point is, if Groenewegen's doing any of these things that Caleb Ewing does constantly, or Peter Sagan does constantly, you would have probably an outrage, especially from DuQuoin Quick Step manager Lefevre, all up in arms about how dangerous he is once again. So I watched this one. You can tell he was a little tentative. There was people pushing him off the wheels. You're not normally going to see that with Groenewegen. He was kind of moved off, but yet he stayed up there. He had a decent sprint. He was coming on near the end. It looked fine. But I think probably in his own mind, he's just probably tentative. He doesn't want to make a show that there's any overt actions anywhere. So he's probably a little bit, I'm fully guessing here, but I would imagine he's a little bit, when I'm watching him race it just looks that way, a little more tentative. He's not going to be doing any sudden moves. He's just a little bit more, he's on probation. Okay. You can't, on probation, you don't have your civil rights. Police could come in and do a check on you anytime they want. That's kind of what it is here. He can't make a mistake, because if he does, he's going to be vilified. So Groenewegen kind of backs off on that, and you didn't end up seeing a result. But you got Tim Miller of Alpecin Phoenix. He gets the win. Stage 3, I'm going to play this because this is kind of what you see.
What are my chances? Not good.
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber. I don't know if you ever heard of that. This is what the breaks to me have been kind of.
Not good, like 1 out of 100?
At the Giro.
I'd say more like 1 out of 1,000,000.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Yeah, there's a chance. And that's what we're seeing a lot of these breakaways coming out. Taco Vanderhorn gets that on stage 3. He gets his shot up the road. Bora Hansgrohe decides that they're going to take this for Peter Sagan. They're working the field down because there's a few climbs in the run up. So they end up trying to ditch some of the sprinters out by doing some work, and they came up a little short. They never did get Taco Vanderhorn. It was a Monday, not a Tuesday, but they got Taco Monday. He ends up posting up, getting the win. David Chimolai of the Israel Startup Nation, who is much like EF, is wearing a different jersey here. They're kind of wearing almost a Chiclamino colored jersey. And EF is wearing like a black jersey. So, I mean, I could see them going away from pink so they don't have confusion in the Giro. However, Taco Vanderhorn gets the win, gets a nice little post up, big guy. Pretty happy. He dropped the F bomb at least 2 or 3 times in the live interview. That was solid. David Chimolai in second, and Peter Sagan, his Bora Hansgrohe team, just came up short. Ilya Viviani in third, and Gaviria down there in 7th place. So, with that said, stage 4, Piazza to Sestola. This one was pretty epic. You had to break up the road. You ended up getting Joe Dombrowski on with Alessandro Di Marche. They had a little break as far as a change in separation in GC going into this. Joe Dombrowski and Di Marche both have a chance of getting the pink jersey. Di Marche had a better chance, but going into the last kicker with about the crest with about 2 or so kilometers to go, Joe Dombrowski ends up dropping Di Marche. They had both bridged up to the group that was up the road, and went straight through them, ended up getting the win there for Joe Dombrowski. It was a sweet day before his birthday, a little surprise, wonder gift for him. And Di Marche gets the pink jersey, as he was able to salvage just 13 seconds off of Joe Dombrowski. So next day, Joe Dombrowski is in second place with Di Marche, Ververk, Attila Valter going back there. Hugh Carthy, the best of the rest, at 138 and such. And so that was stage 4. And so once again, that kind of plays out where the break is able to stay away. They're not able to pull them back. And that's kind of a something that we're seeing here at the Tour of Italy. Okay. Stage 5, we end up seeing Caleb Ewing. He comes off of the Nizzolo, Elia Viviani, Sagan trains, and Gaviria coming there in 5th. Groenewegen down there in 8th. Once again, just not quite there. David Chimele down there in 10th. But Caleb Ewing gets the win as the post up once again after the line, and pretty uneventful as far as anything else goes there. Look, I don't know all the details of all these races because it's been a few weeks now since I've seen them all, but I just thought I'd go through the results here. Now, the next day was a little bit interesting. So Gino Mater, I remember him from Paris-Nice earlier this year. He's up the road. He's going to get the win. I think it was the second to last stage of the Saturday stage there in Paris-Nice, probably stage 6. And Roglic decides to attack like in the last 1K, claws him back and goes through him and gets him, nips him pretty much at the line, takes the win, takes the point bonuses the next day. As they say karma, perhaps, but Roglic ends up losing that. Gino Mater, however, this day ends up staying away, gets the win. It had a nice little kick up to the finish there, a few kilometer climb. In the end, Egan Bernal, Dan Martin, Remco Evenepoel, who's 21 years old, doing a first race since his nasty crash there in Lombardia last year. And Dan Martin, Gila Ciccone has been looking good. Caruso, and the one that we saw really miss out in this day was George Bennett of the Jumbo team. Jumbo doesn't really have much. I mean, they have Foss going up there, but you saw Simon Yates. Walter ends up going into the lead. Remember, he was in the break the day before. Remco Evenepoel, 3rd place. And so you're starting to see little things take place. Jai Hindley is looking to suffer a little bit, the defending 2nd place from last year. His teammate, though, Romain Bardet, looking decent in there. But really who you're looking at the best here is Bernal, who seems to be having his back issues maybe taken care of. And he is flying high, at least up until stage 6. Okay, stage 7. Get another one, sprint finish here with Caleb Ewing. This one was a little bit different. You got the lead out coming from, well, once again, you got the lead out coming from, this was UAE team. No, I'm not sure exactly who was doing all these lead outs, but Groenewegen in 7th. Caleb Ewing got an easy win there. He went around Chimele and Timelaire and some of these guys pretty harsh. I think, trying to remember who it was, a rider that took off kind of early, and they chased him down, and Caleb Ewing was able to spit himself around there. Easy win on the day for Caleb Ewing. This was an important one. Go back here. The day after Simon Yates, well, we had a few people. You had Landa crash out. His tour's over. You had, he had already been looking decent. You had Joe Dombrowski crash out. Well, he ended up finishing, but he pulled the plug because he was, there was like they have the splits in the road and they have the sign guy there shaking the flag. And evidently his teammate moved away at the last minute and he plowed into him. I think he had a concussion. He went home. Pretty disappointing to see that for him. So we had Caleb Ewing winning. The next day we had Victor Lefebvre, and Valters once again holding on. This was a decent climb up there to the finish. Francisco Gavizzi, Nicholas Arndt almost caught them both at the finish there. Also, so once again, the break stayed away. Kampenertz is up there. The best of the rest coming in a little bit later. Jal Almeida and the rest at 4:48. And I don't think he saw too much of as far as carnage goes on that stage. However, the next one had a little climb up to the finish, some gravel. We're going to start seeing how gravel is going to be effective of this. You're having guys early suffering, and the Ineos team is doing a good job pushing on to the finish. They come up and it looks like the break is going to possibly stay away. But man, within that last 1 kilometer, they start to go up this gravel road, and Egan Bernal hits the afterburners. Ciccone goes with him. Vlasov is having trouble. Remco Evenepoel ends up closing gaps. They come through his tunnel right before the last 1.5K, and he said he got behind some people, had some trouble, and he was started on the back of that group and ended up having to go through. There's the gaps that are already forming. In the end, Bernal takes the pink jersey. Remco Evenepoel, 2nd place at 15 seconds. Vlasov 3rd. Giulio Ciccone, Attila Valter, Hugh Carthy, Dan Martin, Yates, Davide Formulo, Romain Bardet. We're just clicking through these nibbly down there. So within the top 10, you have, within a minute, before they go into the rest day. And I think they went into the rest day. Which day was this year? This is May 16th. So I think we had one more day following that. Now, look, I think you're coming out of that gravel in that tunnel. You're going to start seeing that there's issues at play and what that really means and how that's going to affect teams going forward, as far as a certain team going forward, because it's a little foreplay of things to come, portents of things to come. Stage 17, we had Peter Sagan gets the win. Now, this is one of those days where the breaks out there. You ended up doing everything right for Bora Hansgrohe. Remember, they had tried this earlier when they weren't able to get Taco van der Hoorn a week earlier. He's actually out in the break again. The team is chasing down, and they about 50K to go. They start really plowing it into the field there. I don't know if you can see the profile too much, but you got a Cat 4, and before that you have a few other lumps. And they decide to put it on, and they're going over these, and it's the speed that they end up going over that starts spitting out um, sprinters right and left. I think Caleb Ewan had already retired. He said he had a knee issue. He was going to quit the Giro. That's an issue. By the way, we'll just get to some of these other ones they had. Philippe Bogana, he's in the pink jersey early on, and he's immediately doing work for Bernal. He's in the pink jersey. He's on the front. He's chasing, and the Italians freak out. He's Italian. He's got the yellow, the pink jersey. They don't believe that he should be doing any of that work on the front for Bernal. Now, look, you've got Bernal, who's won the Tour de France. Okay, I get how they want to preserve this jersey and kind of like give it some respect in a sense, and say, hey, with this said, we're going to not have him on the front. But you have Bernal, who's, like I said, won the Tour de France. There's a good chance if his back is going well, and after we see how he's ridden here in the next few days, he's likely the guy that you're going to be going for. Looking to obviously be on the podium, but the overall win. I mean, he could drop people, and he's been one of the best climbers in the world until he had a little back issue. So putting Ghana on the front and doing as you're supposed to, you would normally do, just because he has a pink jersey, does that devoid your team from employing him in the way that fashion that you feel necessary? I don't think it's a problem at all. So I think it's a little, Cipollini coming out there. Well, Cipollini, what if you've never done anything on the front except for yourself? So I don't think you have the best. And just a little deviation here. So anyway, we get Sagan in the points jersey. Caleb Ewan ends up pulling out. Next thing you know, you got Tim Belair coming off. You have, well, actually, I think you had, and he's been having some intestinal problems too, I guess. He was taking, he got Dumoulin to one race where he was going to the back there a few times. You've got, Peter Sagan's team is on the front. Chimele, remember, he's done well in some sprints. So the Israel Startup Nation starts doing some work as well. But you're getting Groenewegen pushed off the back. You're getting several sprinters getting dislodged. When they come into the finish, UAE has Modolo, and they have Gaviria. His lead out guy takes a kick on the right hand side and actually forms a gap. Gaviria lets it go, and there's a little bend in the last 100 meters or so. And before they come to that, Sagan ends up chasing him down and gets to him, and then sprints through the wind and holds off Gaviria for it. His team did all the work. He does the finish product, and it was a wonderful day for them. It was a perfect lead out too by Modolo, who in all intents and Milano, who looked like, he was trying to lead out there for his teammate Gaviria, and Gaviria did not take the right thing to do and go with him. That's a connection that they need to be on for that. What's interesting is it was perfect for Sagan or whomever, because he had to close the gap, and for a sprinter coming up to a lead out guy, that's usually not too difficult. He does a few hard moves, he gets in his speed, and then he takes a run at him, and it's a cat and mouse, or the leading the dog out there, and he is able to get him, pops right by him, and easily gets the win. So Peter Sagan with the win on stage 10. Well, today we have stage 11, and it is full of gravel. It's basically a remake of the Strade Bianche. We've got 35 kilometers, I think, of gravel coming in there. And you can see that it's also, even without gravel, it's very climby in general. It was a total of 162 kilometers. So, not the longest race, 100 miles or so, but it was decent weather. It looked a little warm. It was dusty. It was kind of like what you saw at Strade Bianche last year when it was later on in the season when Wout ended up winning that last year before he won Milan San Remo. Remember, the calendar was all in disarray. Um, Climbs got so this first gravel section you come into today, 60 or so kilometers. The whole field is there and it gets strung out, and you have Filippo Ganna on the front. Now, not wearing a pink jersey, so I guess it's okay for him to do this. And he cracks the field in more than half. It's like a glass vase that you just throw down on the floor and it just pieces everywhere. It's kind of what you had. And for the most part, you had the separation. You always saw Bernal, pink jersey, top three or so, right there with his team rotating through. They come through this section and it is decimated. You don't see Dan Martin anywhere. You didn't see Remco was off the back of this thing. He had to chase back up. He had some Dakota Quick Step riders with him. They were able to connect that through, much like Hugh Carthy actually came off from that section. And they only had 20 or 30 seconds, and they were able to reconnect. Once again, coming out like 50 so kilometers. That's a long way to go to the finish with a group of like 20, and with basically Filippo Ganna doing all the work. They come through, they connect. They have this then next section here, which is a big long section, big climb in the middle, and Ghana ends up doing work and then he's done. Remco connects, but he is on the back. Simon Yates is kind of on the back. Simon Yates looks better in this though. Hugh Carthy then has some teammates with him. You have Giulio Ciccone, Vincenzo Nibali. A break is up the road, and once again, you saying there has a chance? I'm saying there's a chance. They end up staying away. Two young guys for Quebec. One guy for Quebec ends up getting the win. But the real thing that you had here is you started to see the dislodge of Remco. He's on the back when they start going downhill. He is not a Pidcock, as an example, or some of these other guys who Bernal, Roman Bardet. You'd think, oh, this is going to have trouble. He has no trouble on the gravel sections. Once again, he's done really well at Strade Bianche. It looked like to me the key linchpin for Remco, the problematic part you had was his ability to be aggressive, and especially the descending part on the gravel. Comes off. Remember, he came off that one time and he had to get a lot of move to get back up. He keeps having to expend energy to reconnect. Also, he's 21. This first, he hasn't raced for a while. He had this injury. He's the hope of the Belgian, but he doesn't ride like a Belgian out here. Okay. Um, he's had a rest day. We don't know what it's like for him to come through a Giro, and anything can happen. He still looked like he was working well, but he started getting popped. Next thing you know, he gets popped well, and then he has no teammates with him. Ja Almeida, his teammate, who had already had suffered a little bit more than him on some of their climbs, they come in here saying they're join race leaders. Now they're not going to. Almeida is going to work for him, but I don't know what the communication problem is. The announcers were freaking out and speculating here and there. Either way, Almeida did not drop back with him. You've got several times where Remco is just on his own, trying to work as hard as he can. Suddenly, Almeida's back there. He's helping him pull through. They're going up these climbs. He's getting popped again. He had spent way too much energy in this race, not sitting up in the front like Bernal. By the way, Bernal's now lost Ghana, but he's got Moscon. He's got Narvaez, I think, with him, and he is just on form and blowing it out. Coming to the last climb, and the EF education team starts putting it down. They start spitting out Ciccone. They spit out Vincenzo Nibali. Next thing you know, Roman Bardet is gone. Then it's Simon Yates is out. Bachmann of the Bora Hansgrohe team attacks up the climb. EF is still going. He's still getting a gap. They come near the top of the climb. Suddenly, Carthy's having trouble. Bernal attacks. He catches up to Bachmann. Those two go in. He outsprints Bachmann. He being Bernal, because the finish had a little kick up to it. Remember, back 2010, I think this is the same course that Caleb Ewan, Cadell Evans had won on with this, the rainbow jersey. Really wet day that was, and muddy, epic day out in the Giro. This dry one, Bernal ends up coming in, I think, third place. We'll look at the results here. And you had Bachmann coming with him. Then there was a gap to some of the other riders. Hugh Carthy had just a little trouble near the end. 2 minutes for Remco Evenepoel. And remember, at some point, if they have this final time trial, which is I think 20 some kilometers, Bernal's going to need a little bit of a gap. So on the day, Mario Schmid, Team Quebec Assos, gets the win, 1 second over Alessandro Covi of TUAE Emirates. Then Harm van Houk of the Laudo Sudal, Dries de Bont of Alpes and Phoenix, Simon Guglielme of Groupama. So I was wrong about the placing because there was a bunch of stragglers there from the break. Enrico Battiglin, Roger Klug, Francisco Gavizzi, Taco Vanderhorn, Lawrence Nason, and then we get the Egan Bernal. This is the GC ones now. Egan Bernal comes in 309 back. Emmanuel Bachmann, 312. Vlasov, Damiano Crusoe, Simon Yates, 335. So he ends up recovering a little bit there. Ruben Guerrero, Q Carthy, 341. But the real Mark Soler, yeah, he spit himself out as well. He did a little attack and then had some trouble. Remco, Evan, and Pole, 5:17. Now, what I am going to look at is to see where Dan Martin ended up on the day. Dan Martin comes in 40th place, 9:23 back. That is basically his tour, probably done and dusted. That's at least not very good. Bernal now leads by 45 seconds over Vlasov, Crusoe in 112. For Bahrain, Carthy 117. He's still in it. And remember, this is not the Hugh Carthy of 2019. It's progression for him. 2019, he comes in here, gets 11th in the Giro, kind of just hanging on, doing what he can. He and Joe Dombrowski, teammates, they were 11 and 12th that year. Then he goes into 2020, does the Vuelta, gets third. And he was an impressive third. Remember the last day where he was actually kind of out climbing Roglic. So very impressive for him on the day. Staying up there, you know, the gravel is just a unique thing, and you're not really seeing. You didn't see much of an impressed ride by Remco. So it looked like he had trouble. It's probably something he'd have to work on. That's a lot of gravel, though. That's a lot of gravel they did and some climbing in there. So in those times you're trying to, if you know, up here in Northern California, we have Pesquenta, and it's like a 4.5 mile slog on the gravel. And if you're not connected and you're doing some chasing, that stretch drains you. And you can imagine 35 kilometers of racing on the gravel out of 160 with the climbing that they did. And he had to do a lot of work to catch back up, especially when Ghana and these others are on the front. So that's what we have for the Giro right now. The next few weeks, though, it's going to be an interesting to look at some of the climbs here because they start to head into the Dolomites, and with that they're going to end up hitting some of these big climbs. We go at Mont Zocalon, which is probably the most famous one that I think they'll do this year, which is coming up here on stage 14. So next Saturday, Sunday. Sunday's not as big a deal. So as far as next weekend goes, you're going to at least have a good one for the Saturday. Zonkalon, it's about 15 or so K up to the top. It gets really nasty, and it should be pretty fun for us to watch. So I'm looking forward to that. However, Saturday, here in California, we are going to be doing bike racing ourselves. We've got some races coming up. Sierra Nevada team is putting on a race, the Folsom Classic Criterium. Today's Wednesday, so Reg, I think, closes tomorrow, and we'll look at registration because it's starting to fill up pretty heavily. If you go to their website, SierraNevadaRacing.com, under the races section, you can see the Strava segment. Now, like, it goes in a circle, a little bit of a bean look to it there. So it's not that complicated. Do you need the Strava segment? Probably not. It gains about 100 feet or so a lap. Maybe not even that. Would it start to 20 feet? Yeah. What am I saying? 100? It's like 20 feet or so. 5 feet elevation says. Okay. Well, it's not much. Either way, go check it out. It's the 22nd. And let's look at our registration. So some of these races are already sold out, which is really good to see. You've got Elite Fours. Looks like it's hit the field limit. At least it's not. I'm not sure what this is. If this means the field limit here is how many they've already had registered. Well, maybe we should go to the registered numbers, but let's look at them first. The elites go in the morning. Fords, novice has a wait list. Women's 4-3-4 novice at 850. 3 4s, and then we got the Masters 3 4s sold out. It says closed, sold out. Okay, so it's sold out over here. Sold out for the 35 plus 3 4s at 940. 35 plus 3-4 wait list is there. It's closed as well. They've had enough. 45s at 10:35. I will be doing that one. The 55s at 12. This Masters 60s at 12. So they're combining those. 35 plus 123 at 12:55. I will be doing that as well. Elite 2-3 at 155. The women's P1-2 at 3:05. And then the Elite P1-2-3 at 4:05. I may do that one. Still debating whether to sign up for that one or not. I guess I have a day or so. So we can at least see the registration here. Like I said, these are sold at 71 entries for the Elite Fours. Good to have that. 10 on the wait list. Women's 3-4s still looks like we could get some more women in there, unless they're doing a joint race with the others. Masters 35, 36, 40 in the 1-2-3s, 45s. I think that might be a 50-minute person limit. So we're pushing up against that already. 56 and 35 1-2-3s. That must be right at the limit there. Maybe it's 70 for that one. 24 for the 2-3s. The women 1-2-3s, 10 entries. Come on, women, we can do better than that. And 34 for the P1-2-3s. We can still do better than that as well. See who we've got here from the teams. Bear National, Tarun is coming out. Ride Bikes Bro, I think may have probably the big team. Maine, we get them. Some Team California riders. Pete's Ride Bikes Bros once again. Tarun, good. Performance Bikes. I think it's the main team. Team California U23, Ride Bikes Bros, Team Cliff Bar, Ryan Wee. Good to see. All right, so for that, I think we'll join up. Upcoming, we have the rest of the Giro, so be looking for that. I hope everyone can check that out. It's always one of my favorite races. Some of the terrain is the best. You just see a difference in GC. You see a different kind of riding. Today, you saw Ineos on the attack early. I mean, in Bernal going from quite a ways out, going with Bachmann, putting his team on the front and decimating that was like what you would see the Belgians do in Paris-Roubaix. It's quite fantastic to watch. It's just a different type of racing, and I can't wait for the Mont Zonklon and some of the other ones. I'm giving the ride of the day to Egan Bernal. Just truly amazing. You never know what Remco is going to do. He's young, right? He may come in. He could not surprise you by winning the whole thing. He could not surprise you by bailing out. He hung in there today and only losing 2 minutes for being off the back there for last, 15, 20K. Having one teammate to help him. I think it shows that he is fitness wasn't the issue today. It was the bike handling. It was staying with the group. It was not getting on the back foot on the gravel. Okay, let's see. Give us your impressions of the race so far, everybody, and then we'll hopefully see you out at Folsom. Look, they have on the thing. Look on their website about restrictions. I guess masks everywhere possible because you can get COVID outside. It's not their fault. It's the licensing people that are saying you can do this. They also said no fans are allowed. Don't bring your fans or family. Have you gone to any of these NorCal races and been concerned about too many fans or family being there? I made the mention. I think that note has been on the race flyer for at least the last 5 years. Been to these races. Oh, well, so we have Between Two Wheels podcast. This is episode 237, people. Check us out. Give us a like. We're on Odyssey as well, odyssey.com. Everywhere else you can find the podcast. I would hope you can share it. See ya. Good luck at the race.